Hi again, Greg Bell of the News Tribune here at Ford Field in Detroit. Seahawks win for the fourth time in 5 games, 28-14 over the Detroit Lions in a game they really controlled after a 21-point second quarter. When I write game stories, I try to go by the adage of, okay, if you were coming home and telling your wife or your girlfriend or your significant other what happened at the game today, he or she said, what happened at the game today? I try to write about the first things that come to my mind. First thing that's going to come to my mind in this game for years is Michael Dickson taking off on the back line, from the back line of his own end zone. The rookie punter with 2:18 left in a 2-touchdown game. Pete Carroll's instructions to him were run out of the back of the end zone. Pete Carroll and special teams coach Brian Snyder told him to run back the opposite end zone here from where I'm standing. Didn't take the intentional safety. It would still keep the Seahawks up 2 scores, 28-16. It would push the ball off of the Seahawks' own goal line. Detroit would have to march the length of the field and still have to score 2 touchdowns in the last 2:18 to win. So what did Dickson do? He took off running. Totally improvisational and totally unauthorized. Nobody told him he could do it in that situation. Dickson saw no one off the right side of the Seahawks offensive punt formation, and he took off. He had 9 yards to go for the first, 8 yards to go for the first down. He ran for 9 out to the 11-yard line. He doesn't get that, and the Lions just march it in, and we're down 1 score with 2 minutes left and their timeouts remaining. An all guts, no brains play by Michael Dickson that worked out. Okay, so the backstory. How did this occur? Well, just as odd as the play, the origins, the location of this idea, just as odd. At the London airport 2 Sundays ago, Pete Carroll came up to Michael Dickson at the airport after the Seahawks beat the Raiders in Wembley Stadium October 14th. He said, hey, when are you going to take off running when there's so much room? When they're ignoring you, just go. That planted a seed in Dickson's head. He said to Brian Snyder what Carroll had told him. Snyder said, don't you ever do that. Well, today he did it with the game on the line, and it clinched the victory because it worked out. Good thing for him it did. The other thing I'm going to remember about today's game, beyond honoring Paul Allen, the late Paul Allen, before, during, and after the game, Pete Carroll gave the game ball in the locker room to Bert Cold, the best friend of Paul Allen and the team's vice chairman. Beside that, the Seahawks once again announced to the Lions and everyone else they were going to run the ball the entire game. They started out with 4 consecutive runs to start the game, and the Lions really couldn't stop them. 42 rushes, another 170-plus yard rushing day. That's 5 in a row now. The Seahawks have rushed for at least 100 yards. I can't, and I'm sure you can't help but think what this team would be had they run like this at Denver, at Chicago to begin the season. Both losses 0-2. The Seahawks are 4-3 now, with the only loss in the last 5 games being the 2-point loss at home to the undefeated Rams, who won again today at home against the Packers to go to 8-0 as the league's only unbeaten team. Aside from that, they'd be on a 5-game winning streak right now, the Seahawks would. Instead, they're still 4 games out in the division, which means they're still focused on the wild card, which brings this game into much more importance for down the road. 4-3 now. The Seahawks need to get 6 more wins to 10 wins that usually get you a wild card playoff berth. And they're doing it the way Pete Carroll wants to. Running the ball, setting up play action passes. 17 throws today for Russell Wilson. That's the second fewest of his career in a win. The only time he's thrown fewer balls in a win, you have to go way back to his rookie season of 2012 when he threw 13 times, completed 9 against the Arizona Cardinals in a win his first months as an NFL quarterback. Since then, he's never thrown the ball less and still won than he did today. 14 completions, a perfect passer rating, 3 touchdowns in that runaway second quarter. David Moore continues to shine, just taking balls out of the air and ripping them away from defenders. He is so far in the lead of Brandon Marshall as the big, tall, physical receiver in the red zone and on 3rd down. That Marshall was, when the Seahawks had the ball in the red zone at the opposite end in the second half, Marshall was 45 yards up the field, standing with Brett Hundley completely out of the, not only the play and the action, but even what the coaches were saying on the sideline. Marshall did come in for a 2nd and goal play in the second half, but Russell Wilson threw the opposite side to Doug Baldwin, who couldn't get his 2nd foot down. It's very impressive that the receiving core gets 248 yards in the air on just 14 catches, and only 26 of those 248 yards came from Doug Baldwin, their #1 receiver. Tyler Lockett, his 6th touchdown catch of the season, and only his 7th game. That ties his career high for an entire season set in his Pro Bowl season of 2015. So the offense is doing exactly what it wants to, telling everybody what they're going to do, and they still pull it off, and that's setting up with the run. The defense remains opportunistic. This young team has taken the ball away. 3 more takeaways today. That gives +10 as the turnover margin on the season. That is the best in the NFL. The Seahawks had set a goal to get a double digits turnover margin before the 8th game of the season. They have done that. That is why their defense can give up yards but not points, and they still win games. KJ Wright came back today, season debut. The Seahawks didn't give him a full load. They took him out on 3rd downs and put Barkevius Mingo in as the 2nd linebacker with Bobby Wagner when they went nickel and Justin Coleman. And by the way, Justin Coleman, a ridiculously athletic play for that interception at the opposite end when the Lions were trying to mount a comeback down 28-14 with about 5 minutes left. He had like 2 yards to react to that bullet pass that Stafford was trying to get it to Golden Tate on the sidelines. Coleman reached up, grabbed the ball with quick reaction, and then had the presence of mind to keep his toes inside the sideline boundary. A ridiculously athletic play, as I said, exquisite and brilliant. Bradley McDougald continues to make plays. I thought one of the key plays of the game when it was 28-14 early in the 4th quarter, the Lions had their first rhythm on offense of the game, moving from their own 1 to midfield. On 3rd down, Golden Tate on yet another crossing route. McDougald there to meet it with a shoulder to dislodge the ball, force a punt instead of a 1st down in Seahawk territory. And that was really the closest and best chance the Lions had to get back in the game, ended by McDougald, who's been brilliant at strong safety, replacing Cam Chancellor this year. So all is quite well with the Seahawks as they head home. 4-3, winners, as I said, 4 of their last 5. Now they get Phillip Rivers and the Chargers on Sunday at CenturyLink Field. Read about all my coverage about Michael Dixon's rather large cojones and everything else at thenewstribune.com and at Twitter @GBellSeattle. Thanks for watching.